I moved into my little apartment about a year ago. I was looking for inspiration, tired of the bland suburban life. It was cozy, with peeling paint and a view of the rain-soaked street. I thought I'd finally find the creativity I needed. For a while, it worked. Then came that rainy night. I was at my desk, sketching, when I heard a faint tapping. At first, I thought it was the rain on the window. But the sound felt different. It was rhythmic, almost deliberate. I paused, unsure of what to do. Should I investigate or ignore it? The tapping changed. It became soft knocks, like a heartbeat echoing through the hallway. My heart started to race. I stood up, swinging my legs off the chair. The hallway was dark, and I had this mix of fear and curiosity in my chest. I crept towards the door and listened closely. Whispers mixed with the knocks. I couldn't catch the words, but I felt goosebumps on my arms that I thought about calling a friend, but who would I call? I didn't want to seem crazy. I peered through the peephole, but there was nothing. Just darkness. My fingers felt cold against the door, and I took a step back. Maybe it was just my imagination. Suddenly, the hallway light began to flicker. Shadows danced along my walls. I tried to breathe normally. How often did noise lead to trouble? Maybe someone in the building was just moving around. Yet, I felt this strange pull, urging me to open the door and look, then it all stopped. The tapping went silent. I stood there, frozen. Just as I thought I imagined it, a shadow swept beneath my door. I flinched. My heart raced like it was running from me. Should I open the door? That's when the whispers came back, louder. I thought I heard my name. Jamie. It didn't sound like anyone I knew that I hesitated, my body feeling heavy. The knocking changed again, hitting the door hard. I jumped back as a chill rushed through me. Why was this happening? Then it got eerily quiet. I waited a few long minutes. Should I check again? My gut said to stay put. I pulled out my phone, ready to dial a friend, but froze before hitting call. What if it was all in my head? Finally, the rain stopped. I took a shaky breath and opened the door just a crack. The hallway was empty. Everything looked normal, but I felt like something was lingering. Had I disturbed something? I quickly closed the door again and leaned against it, my pulse still hammering. The night dragged on, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been in my apartment with me. I had no idea what I experienced. Each noise that followed made me jump. I still think back to that night, wondering what really happened in those 3 long hours. The next day, I woke up exhausted. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that wrapped around me like a thick fog. I tried to distract myself. I brewed coffee and put on some music, hoping a little routine could ease my mind. The sun was shining bright, yet the memories of the night before clung to me like shadows. Around noon, I heard a knock on my door. My heart dropped. I hesitated. After what happened, I wasn't sure who could be standing outside. I approached the door slowly, peeking through the peephole. It was a delivery person with a package. I took a deep breath and opened the door just a crack. "Delivery for Jamie," the person said, holding out a small parcel. I took it nervously, thankful for some normalcy. As I closed the door, I felt a weight lift slightly that I set the package on the kitchen counter and tore into it. Inside was an old, dusty journal with its cover cracked. It looked oddly familiar. I flipped through its pages, filled with erratic handwriting and strange sketches. My heart raced as I recognized some of the drawings. They looked like my own. How could that be possible? I hadn't drawn those. But a chill crawled up my spine as I turned to the last page. It was dated just a week before I moved into my apartment. The handwriting became frantic, spiraling into madness as if the writer was losing control. I had to know more. I grabbed my coat and rushed out the door, journal in hand. I felt like I was being drawn toward the neighbor's apartment. It was the only way to uncover the mystery lurking in those pages. I knocked on her door, heart pounding. Moments later, the door creaked open. It was the woman from 2 doors down. She looked concerned but welcoming. "Hi, can I help you?" she asked. That I took a breath. "I found this journal, and I think it might belong to you or someone who lived here before." I held it out hesitantly. Her face paled as she scanned the pages. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. It was delivered to me," I replied. "I think it's connected to my apartment." She stepped back, glancing at the hallway behind her. "You shouldn't have that," she said, almost in a whisper. "It belonged to him." I felt the temperature drop around us. "Who?" Suddenly, her eyes flicked to something behind me. I turned quickly, my heart racing. But nothing was there. "What happened?" I asked, feeling the growing unease in my gut. "I can't explain," she said, backing away from the door. "Just get rid of it. Please." Before I could respond, she shut the door in my face. Confused, I stood there for a moment, clenching the journal tightly. I wasn't ready to let go just yet. As I walked back to my apartment, the echoes of that night replayed in my head. What had I stumbled upon? Just then, I noticed a flicker in my hallway light again, and I froze. I wasn't alone. The shadows seemed to deepen, pulling at my senses that I rushed inside and slammed the door shut. My heart raced as I leaned against it, gripping the journal tightly. Whatever was in those pages had to be released before it came for me. I stood against the door for a moment, trying to catch my breath. The journal felt heavy in my hands, like it was pulsing with some hidden energy. I flipped through the pages again, desperate for clarity. Instead, the scrawled notes looked more chaotic, almost desperate as they echoed the woman's fear that I wanted answers, but unease twisted my stomach. The woman knew something, and I had inadvertently stepped into something dark. I placed the journal on my kitchen table and grabbed my phone. I needed to do some research. Maybe I could find something about the previous tenant, or even the woman herself. But the digital world felt shallow compared to the mystery I was tangled in. Swiping through social media and random search results just heightened my anxiety. As I worked, the rain began to fall, soft at first, then hard. It sent a rhythmic patter against my window, drowning out the silence that had settled over my apartment. I took a break, staring at the journal, trying to summon the courage to dig deeper. That's when I heard a soft thumping sound, like something heavy being dropped. I froze. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I stood, listening intently. The noise came again. It was coming from the hallway. My heart raced anew. Was it just the storm? I glanced at the journal, and a shiver shot through me. What if it was connected to whatever had happened to the previous tenant? Against my better judgment, I stepped cautiously toward the door. I opened it just a crack, peering into the dimly lit hallway. Everything appeared normal, but a flickering light caught my attention at the other end. The bulb above the neighbor's door was buzzing and blinking erratically. I hesitated, debating whether to investigate or retreat. Then the thumping returned, louder, more insistent. It sounded like something scraping against the floor. My curiosity got the better of me, and I edged out into the hallway, closing the doors softly behind me. As I approached the light, my pulse quickened. The moment I reached the neighbor's door, the noise stopped abruptly. I knocked, the sound echoing ominously in the silence. No response. Feeling foolish, I was about to turn away when a voice whispered from inside, "Help me." My breath hitched. My mind spun with questions. Who was in there? Was it the woman from before? I knocked again, louder this time. "Hey! Is everything okay?" The same voice called out, barely above a whisper. "You have to come in. It's..." The voice faltered, then trailed off into a faint stutter. I felt a chill crawl up my spine, frozen in place. The fear was overwhelming, but the urgency in the voice gripped me. I took a deep breath and turned the knob. It was unlocked. As I stepped inside, everything shifted. The air thickened, a tension wrapping around me. The first thing I noticed was how dark it was, shadows clinging to the corners. "Hello?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. Then everything went dark. The lights flickered out completely, leaving me standing there in total blackness. Panic surged through me. I fumbled for the wall, trying to find the light switch, praying that whoever had spoken would reveal themselves before something sinister found me first. I stood in the dark, heart pounding against my ribcage. The silence was thick, almost suffocating. I held my breath, trying to focus on any sound, any hint of movement. After what felt like an eternity, I managed to find the wall and traced my fingers along the surface until I hit the switch. I flicked it on, but nothing happened. The darkness swallowed the room again, an impenetrable void. A knot of fear twisted in my stomach. What kind of power outage happened in a single apartment? I could feel the creeping sensation of being watched. "Hello?" I said again, hoping for a response that would signal I was not alone. My voice echoed back to me, mocking my desperation. The air grew heavier. With every heartbeat, the weight of dread pressed down. My mind raced as I imagined the worst. Maybe it wasn't just a power outage. Perhaps that voice had lured me into a trap. Panic coursed through me, and I took a hesitant step backward. Then, I heard it. A distinct sound, like a faint shuffling from a corner. I froze, straining my ears. "Who is there?" My voice came out choked, laced with fear that I squinted into the darkness, but there was no answer. The shuffling stopped, replaced by an unsettling stillness. The atmosphere felt charged, like the moments before a storm breaks. I started to question whether my pulse was louder than the silence around me. Suddenly, I spotted a sliver of light emerging from beneath the far corner of the room, under an old cabinet. My instincts screamed at me to leave, to run back to my apartment and shut the door. But dread and curiosity battled within me. With shaking hands, I made my way toward the cabinet. As I knelt and peered underneath, I saw a small object glowing softly. A button. It was too round and smooth. My heart raced again as I reached out to grab it. Just as my fingers brushed against the object, the light went out completely. I pulled my hand away, instinctively scrambling backward. My senses flared. The air felt alive with electricity, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I sensed movement. "Please, help me," the voice whispered again, now directly in front of me, tinged with urgency and fear. It sent chills radiating through me, holding me captive. I swallowed hard, torn between the urge to flee and something deeper pulling me to stay. "Wait, who are you?" I stammered, meeting the void. Nothing but silence filled the air. Then I heard the slow creaking of a floorboard behind me, echoing in the silence like a gunshot. I spun around, resolve kicking in, and reached out blindly, looking for something solid to hold on to. My stomach dropped when I realized I was not alone. "Get away!" I shouted, but it barely masked my terror. A shadow shifted, and I felt a cold breath on my neck. "Help me, before it's too late," the voice echoed, desperate and familiar. As the words sunk in, realization struck me like a lightning bolt. It was her, the woman from the journal. But whatever was happening in this apartment was far worse than I had imagined. I took a step back, the world slipping away from me, leaving only the haunting remains of her plea. I needed to know more, but I was running out of time. What had I unwittingly become part of? The air felt electric, a thick fog of uncertainty wrapping around me. Whatever lingered in the shadows felt alive, and I had to do something. Everything inside me urged me to flee, yet curiosity tethered my feet to the floor. "Who are you?" I repeated, more to reassure myself than expect an answer. "Trust me," the voice pleaded, its familiarity intertwining with my growing anxiety. But trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. I felt the darkness pressing in, the walls closing around me, and instinctively, I turned toward the faint light beneath the cabinet. I couldn't reach the glowing object from where I stood. With my heart racing, I took a cautious step forward. I bent down, angling my head to catch a glimpse of the light. The shape was clearer now, a small, silver ring, intricately engraved with symbols I couldn't decipher. Was it a key? A piece of jewelry? Before I could touch it, a rush of cold air erupted from nowhere, brushing past me like a warning. I stumbled back and looked around frantically, sensing that the atmosphere had shifted. The shadow in the corner deepened, stretching toward me like a hand reaching out from a past I didn't understand. "Please," the woman's voice came again, more insistent. "You have to," but the rest of her sentence was drowned out by the sound of glass shattering behind me. I whipped around, heart racing, and saw a picture frame on the floor, the glass cover splintered into a million pieces. "What is going on?" I shouted into the darkness, panic churning in my stomach. I took a step toward the mess, my instincts telling me to check it. Maybe I could find the source of whatever was happening. As I reached down to pick up a shard of glass, I felt the temperature drop sharply. My breath formed visible clouds in the air. The shadows swirled, and the woman's voice cut through the chill. "Do not touch it." I froze, the shard hovering just above my fingertips. What do you mean?" "It's a trap," she replied, her voice trembling with urgency. "The past is alive here. You must leave before it haunts you." A heavy thud echoed from somewhere behind me, more pronounced, like a door slamming shut. I spun around again, heart racing, and saw a figure standing at the far end of the room. The outline was unmistakable, it felt oppressive, crushing the space between us. "Help me." The voice broke off, replaced by a guttural growl that sent chills down my spine. I could feel its intent, the hunger emanating from the shadows, and I was at its center. "Enough!" I shouted, trying to summon courage I didn't feel. "Show yourself." The shadows thickened, consumed the room. Then, everything went dark once more, and that sickening chill enveloped me, compressing against my chest. I was trapped in that claustrophobic darkness, my breath quickening. Something moved in the blackness, and a whisper scuttled across my skin. A pulse of desperation struck me. It was clear whatever waited there wanted more than just to scare me. This was about power, possession. I needed to act fast. But my next move could be the last decision I ever made. Everything shifted in an instant. The oppressive darkness twisted and turned, and I could feel it pressing down as if the air itself had grown heavy with dread. I blinked, trying to adjust my eyes, but the pitch-black shadows refused to retreat. I struggled to focus on the faint glimmering of the ring beneath the cabinet. I could still feel its pull, like an anchor in a sea of chaos. I had to get it. "Get out," the voice warned again, now strained and desperate. "You don't understand what's at stake." I hesitated. I wanted to believe her, whoever she was. But the sense of urgency ignited a flame of rebellion within me. I couldn't just run away. Not without understanding what was happening. With determination, I crouched down again, feeling the cold wood beneath my palms. As I stretched my fingers toward the ring, I felt the shadows swirl around me, tugging at my clothes, my hair. A low growl rumbled through the air, vibrating in my bones. I gripped the ring, and as soon as I touched it, a blinding light erupted, cutting through the darkness like a knife. I yanked my hand back in shock, the light fading just as quickly as it had come. I looked down in disbelief. Had I imagined it? But there, still reflecting a faint glow, was the ring. The engravings pulsed softly, as if it were alive. Instinct kicked in, and I scooped it up firmly, feeling a rush of warmth spread through my fingers. "Good. Now put it on," the voice urged. "No," I shouted, more to the darkness than to her. "What are you? Why should I trust you? You will understand if you just listen." Without warning, the walls started to tremble, a deafening crack echoing around me. I staggered back, tripping over my own feet, and hit the floor with a jolt. The figure I had seen earlier loomed larger, closer now, its disfigured face a mask of rage. I scrambled to my feet and rushed toward the apartment door, pulse pounding in my ears. I grasped the doorknob, twisting it, but it wouldn't budge. Panic surged again. "Let me out." "No." The woman's voice cut through the chaos. "You have to confront it." Before I could reply, something cold wrapped around my ankle. I looked down and saw a shadowy tendril tightening, pulling me back. I kicked and fought, but it was strong. My heart raced as I felt the darkness seep into my very bones, numbing me. Then I remembered the ring. I reached for it, pulling it into the light. What do I do? I screamed. How do I make it stop? Wear it. The urgency in her voice pierced through the fear. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. I had to choose. To trust the voice that had guided me or remain trapped in the growing darkness. Just as I grasped the ring and slid it onto my finger, a blinding light erupted. Everything froze. The shadows shrank back, and for the first time, I could see the figure clearly. It was unlike anything I had ever encountered, a twisted reflection of myself, embodying the fears and regrets I had buried deep within. And then it lunged. I braced myself as the figure came at me, its grotesque features twisting in fury. Adrenaline surged through me, and I ducked, narrowly avoiding the shadowy claws that reached for my throat. I stumbled back, feeling the warmth of the ring on my finger pulse as if it was sending a warning. Use it. You can fight back. The voice urged again, echoing in my mind. Fight back. I was consumed by confusion and dread. What was I supposed to do? The figure stood before me, a chaotic storm of my buried fears, its eyes dark and empty, yet filled with rage. I felt a surge of anger rise in me. Wasn't he going to be a victim? I focused on the ring, letting its warmth seep through me. Wasn't he just going to react? I had to act. I drew a deep breath and summoned every ounce of courage I had. The figure lunged again, but this time I reacted. I held out my hand, envisioning a barrier of light. Get back! I screamed. To my shock, a bright energy radiated from the ring, creating a shimmering shield around me. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the light. I was caught between fear and exhilaration. The ring was amplifying something inside me, something I hadn't known existed. Keep pushing. The voice encouraged, and I felt the energy building. With newfound resolve, I stepped forward, my heart racing as I directed the light toward the creature. The brilliance exploded from my hand. It struck the figure, causing it to dissipate into ash, the darkness evaporating like mist in the sunlight, but I didn't have time to celebrate. Out of the swirling remnants, new forms began to emerge. It was like a nightmare unraveling into more terrifying scenes, each one representing a part of my past I couldn't escape. Faces of people I hurt, choices I regretted, moments of weakness. Stop it! I shouted, trying to push the memories away, but they pressed closer. I could see the disappointment in their eyes, haunting me. Face it. You can't run from this. The voice insisted. I hesitated, fear clawing at my insides. But I could feel the ring growing warmer, a reminder that the light was still with me. I had faced one part of my darkness, maybe I could face the rest. With a deep breath, I focused on one memory, my brother's disappointed face after I chose to abandon him as a child. I'm sorry. I yelled, feeling a swell of emotion. I didn't mean to hurt you. The air crackled, and the shadows faltered. The anger began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of pain. Suddenly, the chaos around me stopped. The shadows collapsed in on themselves, leaving me standing in an eerie stillness. But my heart dropped when I realized that there was still something lurking in the darkness, when I heard it, a soft whisper echoing from the corners of the room. You think this is over? My breath caught. I wasn't done yet. The fight had only just begun. I stood alone in the quiet aftermath, the echoes of the shadows still swirling in my mind. Fear gripped me again as the whisper seemed to wash over the room. It taunted me, reminding me that I was not free yet. I scanned the walls, half expecting another figure to leap out at me. "No," I murmured, shaking my head to dispel the panic. "I want to let you win." My fingers tightened around the ring. It felt like an anchor, grounding me amidst the storm of my past. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to move. I stepped carefully, the floor creaking under my weight. My pulse quickened as the shadows danced at the edges of my vision. I needed light, clarity, something to guide me through this mess. After all, I'd just faced those horrors head-on. I could do it again. Glancing around my apartment, I spotted my old lamp in the corner. It was a relic from better days, a gift from my brother. I rushed over, flicking the switch hard. The bulb flickered before casting a warm glow across the room, banishing the shadows momentarily. I felt a sense of relief wash over me, but then, I noticed something unusual at the far end of the room, a slip of paper lying on the floor. I hadn't remembered leaving anything behind. Slowly, I moved toward it, a chill creeping into my spine. I bent down and picked it up, my hands trembling slightly. That it was a note, hastily scrawled in a handwriting I didn't recognize. "The ring holds the key. You're not alone anymore." My heart raced. What did it mean? Who had left this? My mind whirled, connecting the dots. I had acted against my fears with the power of the ring. Was there someone else out there like me? Someone who knew? Questions flooded me, but just as quickly, doubt sank in. I couldn't trust shadows or messages, not when they could easily lead me astray. Then I heard another sound, a soft shuffle from the living room. Tension gripped me again, and I clutched the note tightly. "Who's there?" I called, trying to sound brave. The only response was silence, thick and heavy like the air before a storm. Suddenly, the lamp flickered. I cursed under my breath. "Not now!" I yelled, but the light dimmed further, leaving dark corners that loomed like hungry mouths ready to swallow me whole. Then, everything went dark. I felt a rush of cold air sweep through the room, carrying a familiar scent like the rain-soaked streets just outside. The shadows closed in around me, swirling with renewed fury. Panic surged within me, but a flicker of resolve ignited again. "I want to let you take me," I shouted. I held up the ring, hoping its light would pierce through the darkness once more. Then, in the depths of the blackness, I saw a shape form, tall and cloaked in shadow. "You thought you could escape?" The voice hissed, echoing the earlier whispers. I froze, realizing that this confrontation was not just with my past, it was something much more. It was about to get real, and I had to be ready. The shape loomed larger, its presence filling the room with an oppressive weight. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breathing. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice shaking despite my best efforts. "Want? Oh, you know what I want," the voice replied, low and mocking. "You've always known." The shadows twisted around it, shifting as if alive, curling into sharp edges that seemed to rip at the fabric of reality itself. That I took a step back, feeling the cold seep into my skin. The ring felt warm, almost vibrating against my palm. "Stay away from me," I shouted, raising the ring like a weapon. "You can't scare me anymore." The figure chuckled, a sound that sent chills down my spine. "You think it's a game? This isn't about fear, dear. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice." For a brief moment, the shadows receded, revealing part of its form, a face twisted in wicked glee. The air thickened, and suddenly, memories surged back, moments I'd tried so hard to bury. My brother's laughter. The day I lost him. "No!" I screamed, the pain of those memories crashing over me like waves. I remembered the day I found the ring and the promise I'd made to protect those I loved. "You failed," the figure hissed, the shadows swirling faster, pulling me closer. And now, you're all alone. Not alone, I snapped, forcing every ounce of strength into my voice. I have the ring, and I want to let you take me. I focused on it, envisioning the light breaking through the dark. Just then, the lamp flickered back to life, casting warm light around the room once more. For a moment, the shadows froze, and the figure recoiled. It was just enough for me to take a step forward. You don't own me. The figure's expression soured, rage twisting its features. Every moment you delay just makes it harder. I'll claim what's mine. Panic crashed through me again, and I fought the urge to run. Instead, I took another step forward, eyes fixed on its face. You'll never take me. In that instant, I recalled the words in the note. The ring holds the key. I closed my eyes, focusing on the ring's warmth, feeling the power within it surge. You think you can control me? You're wrong. I'm stronger than you think. The light grew brighter, illuminating my apartment and pushing back against the shadows that encircled me. The figure screeched, the sound both bone-chilling and desperate, as if the light was searing its very essence. But then something strange happened. I felt a pulse from the ring, a force that seemed to respond to my newfound determination. In the middle of the light, an image began to form, two hands, one dark and one light, intertwined like a bond that went beyond fear. Wait, I whispered, confused by the vision. My attention shifted, my fight wavering. What's happening? The figure all but howled, thrashing against the growing power as the air trembled. You must choose. The ring or the truth? A knot formed in my gut. I didn't want to choose. What truth? In that moment of uncertainty, a shadow darted toward me, slipping into the edges of my vision. My heart raced. Someone else was here. I turned, breath hitching. Who's there? I called out as the shadows flickered and danced once more at the corners of my home. Then, in the doorway, I saw them, an unfamiliar silhouette emerging from the depths of the darkness. I felt my heart pound in my chest as I squinted into the faint light, struggling to make out the shape standing in my doorway. Fear gripped me tighter than the shadows that still clawed at my ankles. Who are you? I demanded, my voice wavering on the edge of panic. The figure stepped closer, revealing itself as a young man with weary eyes that seemed to have seen too much. I'm here to help, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling around us. But you have to trust me. Trust felt like an impossibility in that moment. After everything, how could I trust anything? But the confusion of the moment and the urgency of his presence sparked a flicker of hope in my chest. The shadows swirled, and the oppressive figure retreated slightly, as if the newcomer had a calming influence on the chaos. I can help you fight it, he continued, glancing nervously at the darkness that flickered along the walls. But we need to focus together. You have the ring, use it to break free. The darkness shifted, its tendrils lunging forward, and I could feel the cold breath of fear brush past my skin. It wants something from me, I murmured to myself. But I don't know what. Your past is its power, the young man urged. You must face it. But you're not alone anymore. We can face this together. He extended his hand. The action anchored me amidst the chaos that I glanced at the ring on my finger, its glow embedded with energy. Did he really think I could embrace this darkness? My thoughts churned, vacillating between fear and a reluctant sense of companionship. All right, I finally said, taking a step toward him. But I don't know how. He nodded, his expression resolute. Close your eyes. Breathe. Focus on the light within you, the light of the ring. It amplifies your strength. We'll face it together. I shut my eyes, forcing myself to breathe deeply, feeling the warmth of the ring pulse against my skin as I surrendered to the moment. The chaos around me receded, and I envisioned the light building within. Together, we began to summon a beam of pure energy. You lead us, he said softly, his presence beside me giving me courage. What do you fear? Images flashed before me, the faces of the people who haunted my memories, the dreams I had relinquished. I felt their pain, their shadows like anchors around my heart. I fear failing them, I whispered, that I will be trapped by my past always. As my words spilled into the darkness, the figure loomed closer, its grotesque form stretching with hunger. "You're weak," it hissed. "Embrace me." "No." I found my voice, stronger now. "I will not let you control me." The young man squeezed my shoulder, urging me to stand firm. "Channel it. Face the truth of what you've done. Use it as strength." Images merged, the good and bad of my memory intertwined. Tears pricked my eyelids as the weight of my choices pressed close. With each painful image, the light from the ring intensified. I felt the energy pulse, guiding me forward. "Release it," he shouted, setting off an electric surge that erupted from the ring. I opened my eyes, focusing the glowing energy onto the twisted figure that stood before us. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the onslaught of light. "You cannot deny me," it screamed, yet its form began to flicker and fade, as my strength amplified. I could hear the muffled voices of those I had wronged, their pain turning from haunting to healing as I faced the truth. "You never wanted to fail. Accept that you are more than your mistakes," the young man said, his voice wrapped in encouragement. Focusing on that truth, I shouted, "This is not just my struggle. I won't carry this alone anymore." With one final push, the energy radiated from the ring, engulfing the malevolent figure in blinding light. The darkness shrieked against the brilliance, trying to claw its way back. But I held firm, holding on to the warmth coursing through me, circling back to my heart and the truth I'd tried to bury. "You don't own me. I'm free." With that affirmation, the shadow dissolved, its claws ripping from my being like smoke. I could feel a release, a lightening of the burden I had been trapped under for so long. It ebbed away, the dark figure finally vanquished, flickering into nothingness against the radiant glow we summoned. Silence enveloped me, that I stood there, panting, still feeling the ring's warmth spread through my veins. The young man looked at me, a knowing smile crossing his lips. "You did it." As the light faded back to illumination, I found my apartment returned to normal. A curious stillness replaced the chaos. The shadows no longer threatened to engulf me, yet a lingering unease remained. "Thank you," I murmured to the young man. "But what next? What happens now?" "The shadows can linger. They'll always be part of your story," he replied, his voice tinged with wisdom. "But you have the power to decide how they affect you." I sighed, running a hand over the ring. "I'll need to learn to carry that truth." "Start with today," he said, fading slightly toward the door. "Remember, you're not alone. There are those who share the burden." As he stepped back into the shadows, I felt a swirl of emotions. Questions bubbled in my mind like smoke rising. Had he been a figment of my imagination? Or had he been something more? I wanted so desperately to understand that I looked around my apartment, different now yet eerily familiar. I was free, but fragments of the night loomed behind me. Would I ever be able to truly let go? Would the ring's power continue to help or haunt me? I stepped towards the window, allowing daylight to wash over me as I gazed down at the rain-soaked street. The lingering shadows released their hold, yet whispers of the night remained unfinished. I could only hope that as I walked where light met darkness, I would find clarity, even if only a glimpse, for the journey was just beginning.